Welcome to the CanadaGuns Talk Show, episode 104. We went hunting, and we saw a deer. I'm your host, the Crover. Say hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
That's crazy.
Hi.
Somebody else say hello. That's Adriel. You know that
Adriel.
guy.
Yo.
The Adriel, hunting gear guy. And, oh, look at that guy. That one's Ian.
Hey, folks.
Yeah. We have a riveting show full of really dumb shit to talk about today. Crazy, have you done anything gun-related?
Well, one interesting thing that people might notice who are longtime viewers of this program, all like 3 people, is that
our 3 viewers.
Bit of a bit different backdrop to my video feed here today, and that's because I finally moved out of my parents' basement.
Hey.
So this is my apartment. I'm the only person who lives here.
Huh,
yeah.
So you're an adult now.
Yes, I am. At 27 years old, I have finally become a strong, independent woman who don't need no man.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Perfect.
But that's this is my apartment. And
Congratulations.
Other than that, yeah, obviously moving with an AR was quite fun. Called the CFO and just went, "Yo, I need to move, and I have an AR. What goes on with that?" And the CFO's like, "Well, I'll give you an ATT for all your restricteds, but for your AR, technically you don't need an ATT anymore. You're just
correct.
you're just transporting it in accordance with the order in council as we understand it. So just treat it like it used to be and move with it." So
I mean, it's the sort of correct that can get you arrested and, guns pointed at your head and all of that fun stuff.
So that's how that went. Is I treated the AR just like it used to have been treated, and that was the first time it left the house since May 1st. Actually, probably the first time I left the house since March, because my range was closed all through fucking COVID. Bought a new safe to fit more guns in. I actually still haven't finished putting the safe together technically, because the rests didn't come in the safe, so I had to actually put them in the safe, and I haven't put all the rests in yet. Been 2 weeks.
I think I put the barrel rest in mine, just to put the barrels against. That's
yeah,
it.
That's what I mean.
Don't even bother. Don't even bother. Just leave them out. You'll get more guns in there. Put some of them pointing up, put some of them pointing down, and just ram them in there.
I mean, I still have to transfer over all the holsters I had in the door of my old safe, because I had 16 or 17 guns in an 8-gun safe. 17 guns in an 8-gun safe.
You gotta pump those numbers up.
So now I've bought an 18-gun safe, and I still have the 8-gun safe. So now I've got room for like 70 guns or so.
Yeah,
give or take.
But I need to go and hang the holsters on the door of the new safe, because right now I've just kind of got pistols lying around the floor of the safe. I finally, I got off to the range and couldn't really focus because I just moved and I was frazzled by a bunch of shit. But I did go off to the range twice. Got kicked out of a gun club because I had a family membership, and they found out that I moved out, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't be part of the family membership anymore. You have to, I would have to join this like high-end fucking society thing downtown that I literally would never use, because I don't like they have like some fancy ass restaurant and a big ass reference library. I'm never going to go to the fancy ass restaurant. I'm never going to use the reference library, and it costs like $2,000 a year to belong to this. Plus, I would have to pay $350 to join their pistol club. So I'm just like, I'm not going to pay $2,000 a year to join this club that I'm never going to do anything with, to then pay another $350 to join this pistol club. So no, that's just not going to happen. I'm just not going to be a member of this club anymore, because I can't do things as a family member with my family.
That is some bullshit.
Use the restaurant and the reference library?
Yes, actually, my dad. It's a military club, and so my dad joined because he was ex-military. My mom was also ex-military. They joined the military club to, I guess, network. My dad's a real estate agent, so They joined for whatever purposes there. They use it. They've gone down to eat there plenty of times. I went there the day I graduated, and I had a nice fancy dinner.
That's fair.
But I hate that kind of like formality shit. I can't stand it. And so I would literally never go there. To begin with, it's already too expensive. Moving out into here, I barely have enough money to fucking feed myself, let alone go to fancy-ass restaurants to feed myself. Like, fuck that. So yeah, that's one club I can't belong to anymore. I've debated whether I have enough extra money to join Target Sports because it's like a 20-minute drive from here now, but I don't know about that. Still haven't bought myself an SKS yet. I've been meaning to now that I've moved out and I can't just borrow my parents whenever I want to. I need to get myself an SKS, and I still haven't bothered to go do that. In part because I'm building a new computer. I did manage to snag one of the new AMD not graphics cards, processors on launch day. I took that whole week off, and so it launched the week I had off to move, and so I just went to Canada Computers, lined up, and managed to get one of the processors, which I could theoretically scalp on eBay for $250 profit, but I don't want to. Didn't manage to get one of the graphics cards today. They
launched or just make a fake account, take their money, and what are they going to do? Cry about it?
That would be fraud, and I do not want to do something like that.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So
getting a real terrible signal here.
Yeah, in terms of gun-related shit, that's pretty much it. I moved, bought a new safe, went shooting a couple times, and that's about it.
Nice.
Oh yeah, actually no, I set my Smith & Wesson off finally.
Of course you did.
I'd kind of been lazy, and because I knew I would be taking the first week of November off to move, I figured, you know what, I'll just wait until then and drive it up to the Smith when I have the week off. The thing is, between August, when I first contacted them, and November, the Smith & Wesson Warranty Center changed from this random shop in the middle of rural northern nowhere, Ontario, to Wolverine Supplies in Manitoba. So I am no longer able to just drive there because it's in Manitoba. So in a way, I'm glad that it changed because Wolverine Supplies is a bigger operation. It's more reputable. It's probably going to be easier to deal with and get things done better. In part, though, I'm disappointed because I couldn't just drive there to drop the gun off. But I did manage to have them do a prepaid shipping label, and I had a bunch of boxes left over. So that got shipped off to Wolverine in Manitoba.
Ship them a box of bricks or something?
No. But yeah, so that's finally on its way to get warrantied. They told me because of COVID, and now that Manitoba's going into like full-ass lockdown again. I don't actually know if they went into it the first time around, but they're going into full-ass lockdown. It might take forever. But yeah, so that finally went off, and maybe when I get it back, I can finally shoot those remaining 300 or so reloads of 357 that I have.
Yeah, we've been handing you about it for how fucking long now? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Hey, Adriel.
Hey.
You did like gun stuff? Like a month ago?
I did some gun stuff, yeah. Wait, month ago. Did I have this set up? A month ago?
No.
All right. I got this set up.
That's so tasty.
Check out that little guy. This is a Ruger 1022. Well, not really.
It's a 1022 pattern rifle.
It's a 1022 pattern rifle. There is a Ruger part on it, the Ruger BX trigger that they make. That's 2.75 pounds. That's in there, but the rest of the parts, there's no more Ruger parts on this.
The rest of it is Gucci, baby.
Pretty Gucci, like Action 22 kind of a setup. So I got a Vortex Venom for a red dot on there. I've got the Magpul X22 stock on there. I can't remember which bolt handle this is. I've got a couple of like extended bolt handles. This is like some extended stainless one. A Delask diamond cut bolt in there. The Brownells had this killer sale on these mag releases, and I think it was like $7
Look at that
US.
fat paddle.
You can do it with one hand, so you could just push it like that and drop that magazine, which is very nice.
That's so high speed, low drag. I love it.
I love how the barrel like ends right at the stock. I looked it up because I was like, 12 inches. Like, how much velocity am I going to lose out of that thing? Practically nothing. Nothing to even worry about. Oh, with some ammo, like 30 FPS. With some other ammo, none. Just doesn't even make a difference. So, I would say if you're looking for a rifle, like, in a rimfire, 12 is fine.
Yep.
What else? Oh yeah, I got a bunch of other like parts. This extended. I just want to show this extended handle. Look how far it sticks out past the scope edge there. Like this is the Power Custom one. It's enormous and very nice, super easy to grab a hold of.
That's some big dick energy charging handle.
It's fantastic because the factory ones barely stick out past the scope knob there. So
the little hook
onto it. Yeah, it's kind of hard to grab onto. And then I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna. I shot a 3-gun match in the snow, and I wore my like crazy wearable sleeping bag thing because it was cold.
Onesie sleeping bag.
Oh, that thing's fantastic.
Yeah, I did pretty good. And I'm gonna go hunting this weekend. I was gonna go hunting last weekend, but we had a coronavirus in one of my kids' schools, and so we had to go get tested. So I had to stop. So I, wouldn't kill the parents. But he's cleared, so we're gonna go this weekend. I'm just deciding what to use for a hunting rifle. So I've got a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's 12 pounds, a little bit heavy, but deadly out to long range. I still have to encode. I've got like a SIG rangefinder, and you can program the ballistics of your cartridge into that, and then when you laze, when you laze whatever you got to laze, it'll say 8 MOA, 6 MOA, however MOA to hold over on the thing. My scope's FFP with MOA markings on it, so I could drop one in. At the range, I was dropping them into as far as I wanted to, and it just hits whatever you're aiming at. So I'm probably going to do that, just so I've got that long range version. But then I've also got a couple of places I can hunt where it's like closer range. I've got an M1 Garand with 5-round clips because in Alberta the hunting regs say 5 rounds max, period. It doesn't matter if it's legal in Canada or not. The other thing I'm considering is using a PCC. Now, this is a GR carbine. This is another funny story. So I'll get to the elephant in the room in a minute. But this is a GR carbine. It's in 9mm. I've got some plus P 9mm hollow point. I don't think I'm going to use this, but I am going to take it out. And if I shoot a deer, I'm going to put it on there. I'm going to take a picture of it and put it on Instagram just to cheese people off. And incidentally, that same rule with the 5-round max in Alberta holds for semi-autos. So I've modified this mag to not semi-permanently to hold 5 rounds because.
So, what the hell happens to those 6-round lever actions then? Because most like 30-30s, they're 6-round.
Those are manual.
Oh,
it's
so
semi-automatic.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's real weird because like I think they were trying to mirror the Canadian law, but they wrote it as like more specific, more general. It's a big.
I know Ontario just says whatever is legal.
Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. Incidentally, in Alberta, it says as long as it's larger than .23 caliber. So this is 35 caliber. Oh, it's fine. It's fine.
Just go shred the fuck out of a deer with a 9.
Ontario says as long as it's center fire, so you could use a 17 Remington Fireball to hunt moose with.
Oof, yep. And then the rest of this nonsense. So these guys have been hounding me to like review some products. I'm like, I don't have a long throw flashlight. I got a whole bunch of like short throw stuff. Like I've got some like decent floodlights that are really good for tracking. Not so good for like spotting stuff like really far away. And they're like, oh, we'll send you this crazy 1 kilometer flashlight. So it's got like a huge collector on there. It's a big flashlight. And they sent me like all this stuff to like mount it to a gun. Now I can't use it for hunting in Alberta because you can't night hunt. But they got this like that's the tail switch. And you,
oh fuck!
Done.
Oh,
it's attached.
I was gonna say, what's the deal with spotlighting?
Yeah, it's illegal. You can't do it in Alberta. But I might take it and just see if I can like see. You can't hunt the deer, but you could use that light at night just to see how far it would go. and I think I'm going to do that. But yeah, it's like a crazy bright, and not crazy bright because like it's only like 1,500, 2,000 lumens or whatever, and you can get that these days in like these smaller flashlights. But these smaller ones are like a flood. So you see there, it's just a large circle. Whereas this guy is, I'm gonna aim this gun behind me. Oh, it's not even gonna show up on camera.
Look how defined that is.
It's wrong though, because like my camera can't do it. There's a spot about that big. It's like a very small spot on it. So it's not good for like tracking or anything like that. But if you need to spot something super duper far away, fantastic for that kind of thing. So I might try it. I'm not going to leave it attached to this gun because I don't even want like the fish cops to come around when I've got like a big ass flashlight attached to my gun. Like,
why not?
I think that suggests the wrong kind of thing is going on. But I'll probably run the M1 Garand for close in for the spots where I can hunt close in, and I'll probably run my 6.5 Creedmoor for the far stuff because if anything I can see, I can kill with that thing. It doesn't matter how far away they are. It doesn't matter.
So have you used much from Olight before? Because
my buddy really likes their stuff for hiking. They've got like a really neat way of like charging where they use like a magnetic thing at the back.
Yeah. Because I got an Olight mounted on my PCC because we were supposed to do a night shoot. I actually did use it on one night shoot, but yeah.
It feels good quality. Like this one's got two 18650s built in there, and they're 3,500 milliamp hours, which is that's pretty good. Like that's where those kind of batteries are supposed to be right now. And it is convenient to not have to take them out, because with this guy I got to take the batteries out. I got to put them in my separate charger. Whereas this guy, he just
that's kind of lame.
You take the little magnety thing to that blue shit in the front there, and it goes.
It's USB, and you plug it. It goes like that, and it charges.
Oh, can you do it off the back too? So I see it's got the thing.
Charges. Yeah.
Oh, what about the blue shit on the front there?
I think that's just a switch, and then like that tells you how much power you got. So that's
okay.
Green, full power.
Because I know on my pistol light, it's, on my pistol light, the magnet area thing is blue on there, so that's why I thought that was the place the magnet latches onto.
No, back. This one charges off the back, which is I hate micro USB, so like being able to do that is nice. And I think, oh yeah, and it came. I think this is for like security guards or something like that, because like this is a whacker, like you whack someone with that, right? Like I'm not gonna carry this around like, to do that hunting. I don't know.
I mean, depending on if you listen to some of the discussion on the Discord the other day, there's some people who will be like, "Oh yeah, totally, that's completely normal. Just walk around with that in the middle of downtown."
I mean, if like you find the deer that you're looking for, you're like, "Get down!" Just trying to stun and subdue, but.
Well, they banned spear hunting out here, but I don't know if they got around to banning flashlight bludgeon hunting.
Just bludgeoning them to death.
Use it to tenderize the meat as you're butchering it in the field there.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that I was just actually looking into today, because on the Reddit for hunting, like, there was a guy in Saskatchewan who's saying, "Oh yeah, I shot a deer. It was CWD positive." I almost said COVID there, but it's CWD positive deer. And I'm like, oh yeah,
that's
like
chronic wasting disease for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's mad cow disease for deer. And I've had to do mandatory testing in the area I hunt. I hunt eastern Alberta for a long while now. And I was curious to see how the spread's been going, because you hear about it, people like, oh, it's so bad and whatnot. And I thought like, we're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It probably hasn't got to us yet. But sure enough, I went and looked, and the ramp up on the number of cases that they've been getting is extreme. Now they're getting like it used to be not even 2-3 years ago, maybe like 3-4% positivity. So like of all the area that they do mandatory testing, what you do is you chop the deer's head off, you put it in a bag, and you stick it in someone's freezer. Like, so there'll be like a head drop location somewhere in this community where you like bring this deer head, and you stick it in the freezer next to a gas station or something like that. And hopefully people don't look for ice or ice cream or something like that in that, because they'll find like a bunch of dead deer heads sticking out of them. But
you just knock a piece off and toss it in your drink. It'll work.
Yeah. The cases are extreme now. In mule deer, it's right around 20% positivity, which is quite high.
Wow.
And in whitetail, they were saying like 4%, somewhere around there. It's probably due to their differing
deer
behavior.
has CWD, is it still edible?
No.
They say you're not supposed to eat the meat. They haven't had a case of CWD transmitting to humans, but if it does happen, you get your disease named after you.
You're fucking dead.
And
just say you're fucking dead.
You're fucking dead. So
COVID-2 electric boogaloo.
Yeah, COVID-2. It's not the whatever COVID's lethality rate is. It's 100%, and it will rot your brain out and you'll die. So I don't want that to happen. So what you do is you chop the heads off all your deer and you mail them. You drop them in these freezers, and you get like a yay or a nay kind of a thing, and then you can choose to eat. Then you can eat it. So I think what I'm going to do is go shoot a bunch of deer, because they gave out. That's my other tip off. Me and my buddies all applied for this one area for draws for mule deer, and we all got them. And it's like, oh, that's weird.
That's weird. Yeah.
Usually we don't. And they're like just handing them out like candy. And I think this is why. I think they're trying to use like hunting pressure to cut down the transmission, cut down the number of CWD infected deer, and try to cut down on the disease spread, because it is spreading quite fast, and it's really ramping up.
Just declare open season, like no bag limits, just go to town.
I don't know if it's present in Ontario, but there's still notices about it in the hunting regs, like be on the lookout for CWD, and there's something about, like, I think looking at the deer's nose to try and identify it or something like that.
It can be hard to tell, which is why in areas where there are cases, it's mandatory that you have to do it, because like that's part of how hunters work in hand in hand with conservation, is that conservationists could, I guess they could go out and like shoot a bunch of deer, or hunters can pay for the privilege to do it for them, and go out and shoot these deer and basically provide like these field samples for the scientists and conservators.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if it's actually present in Ontario, but there's always a thing in the booklet, like be on the lookout for CWD, but I don't know of any way to get it tested in Ontario.
There might be like optional testing or something like that. Like locally here, our local university, I believe they do the testing. So I guess it would be like a university thing testing out there. But so
let's get the undergrads to do it. That's what they're doing.
Amount of positivity in eastern Alberta, there is a high likelihood that we're going to see some CWD deer. So chop up with the heads, mail them, wait for them. I'm probably still going to process and like make sausage and that kind of stuff, just not eat it until I get the A-OK. Kind of a pain in the ass, because like you kind of like, you go out hunting, you get a deer, like that day it's kind of nice to do some like deer loins, tenderloins kind of a thing, fry them up in the pan, but I don't know if I want to get the brain rot. My brain's pretty rotten already, so I don't want to add to it. Anyways, that's been on my mind, so I'm gonna go hunting this weekend and put in some time and help with stopping the spread of CWD by shooting a crap ton of deer.
Thank you for your service.
It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it.
Yep. That's a good one, Adriel. Hey, Ian.
Yes.
Okay.
Did you do like gun stuff lately?
Not a whole lot, because I've been mostly working on getting videos out. But
yeah, you're pumping those bad boys out, man.
The one main thing I did pick up was a pellet gun, which
Ooh.
I had a pellet gun some time ago, and it got stolen, which was sad.
Oh.
But so I got a new one. This one's actually kind of neat because it has a little, by default, I don't know if you guys can see this worth a damn, but by default it's single shot, so you load it just by plunking something in and then pushing it in with this little sort of bolt action gizmo.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also pick up and So of course I did. These little magazines. And you open it up, and the little loading ramp slides out. And the magazine slides in.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
And so I think it's 7 rounds. So that's a little bit more convenient if you're out and about. But,
and what'd you pick it up for? Blinking or hunting?
A little bit of both. It looks like the Alberta regs say that you can carry a or an 84 sub 3 firearm or handgun for hunting purposes. And I'm going to check it over again just to make sure I wasn't crazy when I read that. But assuming that that is the case, this is just at the low end of what might be useful for a small bird or something along those lines. It'll do the job, and it means that if I'm out with a shotgun or a 273 or 270 rather, and I'm not you go out and you see a rabbit when you're out hunting deer, you're thinking there's not going to be a whole lot left of this rabbit if I decide to shoot it with my deer rifle. So I've always said it'd be really nice to be able to have a 22 caliber pistol just as a backup for that sort of thing.
About it.
And so this one might actually make that possible, which would be nice. But again, I got to go through the laws and just make sure that I wasn't misreading it or crazy, because of course the laws are always obnoxious when you're reading them. So got to check. What
makes you say that, lawyer?
I mean, if I need to give something, a couple of reads just to make sure that I'm not screwing up, how are the sort of average person who didn't go to law school and haven't devoted a metric fuck ton of time towards being good at firearm law?
You're a good lawyer.
Relates to the discussion we had before that started airing about whether or not 22 caliber air guns were or were not firearms based on how fucking annoying the law is to try and read.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think that there's been a week that went by in quite some time where I haven't got, some contact from a lawyer saying, can you help explain sort of firearm law to me? And, this happens all the time. It's not like a once or twice thing. It's just, because it's hard. It's really difficult and, difficult and troublesome. And that's unfortunate. If it was up to me, I'd go through and essentially hack out the entire firearm sections of the criminal code.
Oh, I love
everything that says firearm and rewrite it in a way that, even if they said, hey, we want to keep the spirit of it. We want to keep, we want the law to do the same sorts of things, which most of those things I don't agree with. But even if that was the goal, it could be done in a way that is less dumb and less confusing and, maybe didn't require a whole lot of additional sort of focus in order to get down. So
stories we've all heard about. You get a lawyer, a cop, and a judge in one room arguing about firearms law, and none of them can come to the conclusion of what it's supposed to actually mean.
Well, I mean, I've found that one of the big things about firearm law is that often you have to explain what the law is to everyone else in the room. And, because nobody knows. It's awkward. It's troublesome. So that's...
Well, I mean, that's one of the issues.
The owner of a range. I had the owner of a range refuse to admit that you don't need a range membership to own restricteds. He's like, no, you gotta have a range membership. He's like, but you don't. He's like, well, yeah, but that's just Ontario. He's like, well, it's not just Ontario. It's like Ontario, somebody put it through the courts and the court said, yeah, you don't need a range membership.
I've got a letter confirming it from the CFO.
That's right. That's right.
Because once upon a time, I thought, hey, I will, I'll pick this fight. And so I went to buy a restricted firearm without a range membership. And they said, which range are you a member of? And I said, yeah, I'm not, and I'm not going to be. I'm going to go and, the local, I'm now a range member, but at the time I wasn't. Kind of intentionally, I actually canceled my range membership for the purpose of testing this legal issue. But so I said I'm not going to be, but I can use the drop-in fees at Phoenix, which are expensive, but you can go there and you don't have to be a full member. You can just pay money, and then they require you to use their ammunition, and you can go shoot. Actually, I think you're only required to use their ammunition if you're using their guns, which
Yes,
fair enough. You don't want somebody using crappy reloads in your own gun because, hey, I don't know if these are going to blow up a gun. Let's use a rental. Is is one of those things they want to deter. But yeah, I got back a letter from the CFO saying, we understand you are not a range member, but we know that you are a target shooter, and therefore we are approving your transfer. And so you don't get to fight us in court over this one, which was kind of disappointing. But at the same time, it means I've got a letter that says, hey, we're approving you because you don't technically need to be a range member.
yeah,
The issue is that you do have to satisfy them that you are going to be using it for target shooting. But there's plenty of other ways to go target shooting with a restricted legally that don't require you to be a range member.
you should just like periodically take a picture of yourself like shooting a target at like a range, saying like there, like pointing at the gun at the range, like ding, 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 ding.
Still
I
at
mean,
it.
I know of people who have gone and sent off like a collection of receipts. Like here I was shooting at Phoenix every week on the, as a drop-in. Here's my receipts for having done so. So clearly I'm target shooting even though I'm not a range member.
Ontario's an interesting case in that because we're the one that had the court case that said you don't need to belong to a range to be able to own restricteds, but every range in Ontario pretty much requires you to go through a safety course before you can go and shoot handguns on their range unsupervised. So there's only one range I'm aware of near the GTA that allow you to just drop in with your own handguns, and that's Urban Tactical in Brantford. And just about every single other one, you have to be with a member, and they have to be supervising you unless you've done their safety course. So the CFO kind of knows that you can't just drop into a range with handguns in Ontario, but at the same time, there's like at least one, if not two, I think there's 2 court cases now. What the hell was his name? Bolanowski? Bolovsky.
Bolovsky,
Daniel Bolovsky. He was the second one. And I know he was about to try and get the Ontario CFO charged with contempt of court. But he was the second one that proved you don't need a range membership. But the first one I heard was someone with a range membership in the U.S. And the Ontario CFO did not want to accept a U.S. range membership. And so they took him to court, and the court said, you just don't need a range membership. But so that's the thing, is the courts have said you don't need it, but the CFO knows that without a range membership, you can't actually be target shooting in this province.
Oh, and I got to give Bolovsky props because I've read the materials he filed with the courts. And, as far as I know, he's got no legal education. He's not a lawyer. He's,
I thought he was.
Was he?
I thought he was a lawyer, and that was one of the reasons he was doing this.
I don't think so. I could be wrong about that.
It was a long time. These CGN threads were from 2014 because he's the reason that the hell was it? C-42 was written up the way it was is because of his legal challenge against ATTs that pissed off the Ontario CFO, and then the government got angry at the Ontario CFO and just wrote what they were doing out of the law.
No, I just looked him up. He's an accountant.
Really? Okay.
But I gotta say, like, having read his materials and his brief, he did a much better job than, most lawyers I could name. I don't want to give a specific number, but like, it's a really well-written, well-researched brief. He did his homework, and most people who are going in sort of self-representing are usually doing a bad job. Usually they're sort of going in as sort of crazy people. But no, I was impressed. It's one of those situations where it's like,
Yeah, so that's why I thought he was a lawyer, because I know he was talking very legalese on CGN at the time when he was doing this.
Well, if I, wasn't able to look the guy up and wasn't sort of familiar with the story there, and had just read his legal filings, I would have thought lawyer too. So
I was wondering, Ian, how much of a shit disturber do you want to be? Would you like put on your Facebook a template of just like how to go about doing that challenge, and just like have like a PDF that you can sign and say, if you have any questions, call this guy. Give me my restricted.
The problem is that first, different provinces have different sort of rules for how you file it.
Yeah, but you could like frame it as like, I'm in Alberta, do it for Alberta kind of thing.
And second, generally self-reps are going to screw it up. So that's the problem, is you get people who are going in on their own and they don't know which cases to cite, and they don't know what the rules are, and they don't know how to keep from, going into a legal battle without a lawyer on your side is often like going into a gunfight without a gun. But
if the CFO knows who you are, couldn't you just have this?
Yeah, see, that's kind of weird. Like, put your letterhead on this thing and just say,
by the way, I will be contacting Ian Runkle about the following, and then the Alberta CFO would just be like, fuck, we don't want to deal with that guy again.
Well, once upon a time, I actually did have to change my my billing model, because I was having too many files where I'd send off a letter and suddenly the CFO would cave and I'd make no money on it. So I did eventually have to put in like a minimum of...
Oh, you should make the letter a Patreon reward.
It was getting to a point where it was like, I kind of felt like my name was itself getting enough that they didn't want to get into a fight with me specifically. And so it was kind of like, okay, if you want me to write a letter with my name on it and rely on that, here is a minimum bill, because,
dude, like make it your $50 Patreon reward.
I mean, the thing is, opening a file and closing a file involve a whole lot of work that normally you just sort of roll the bills into over time. And it was becoming, my assistant was getting really annoyed where I was having files that I'd open and close, and there's all that work. And it's like, billed $50 for writing a letter. Okay,
fine. The $100 Patreon subscriber.
I'll think about it. The problem is that if, people are going into court, you don't want to put your name on correspondence unless you're actually the lawyer on the file. And, so basically a limited retainer for, hey, I'm sending a letter is not really a viable thing, because you can end up getting dragged in on a file with no retainer agreement and no anything, and now you're representing this guy for basically free. And the file that you're on for free is going to be the one that turns into, a giant nightmare. Like, hey, I'm going to the Supreme Court on my own dime. Oh, that's not good. Because I'll tell you, it's not cheap to go to the Supreme Court. Even just the filing fees and all of the transcripts and all of that, it's expensive. So that.
But think of the memes, man. Think of the memes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll think about that one. But the problem is that it would also require a whole bunch of documentation, because for most people, you're going to have to document sort of how you're going to go about the target shooting, and you'd have to do affidavits, and you'd have to do all this. Yeah. So there's going to be some additional hassle involved.
Yeah.
So,
well, as
most people don't actually have the appetite for picking that kind of fight. It's court battles for most people aren't fun. It's
yeah.
Generally, I recommend avoiding court if you can.
They're terrible and expensive.
Yeah. A wiser man once said, "Don't let your memes be dreams." So I'm just going to leave it at that.
I mean, there's something to be said about being the dude in your province where when you get name dropped, they just back down. Because I know who the two lawyers in Ontario are that you want to name drop in a firearms case.
Yeah, well, and I also know that I have called the chief firearms office, and they're like, "Oh, we know who you are." And I'm like, that's funny because I haven't given you my name yet. And they're like, we recognize your voice. I'm just like, okay.
Ooh, okay. No, that's nice to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also know one of the people at the CFO's office mentioned that they watch my YouTube channel. So, and he was very quick to clarify in a personal capacity, And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it's getting, watched in a non-personal capacity as well. But yeah, it's good to be known, I guess.
Before I start rambling,
I don't know about that. Well, actually, someone sent it to me, but the Nova Scotia shooter They looked through where he, and the RCMP report noted that he went on a website called Hunting Gear Guy one time and looked at one of my articles.
Ooh.
Oh, jeez.
I don't really want to be known for that. I mean, it's just like he didn't have a pal anyways. He didn't even buy any of that stuff legally, but I don't want the connection.
This is where it's kind of helpful if you've got a sufficiently broad sort of subscriber base, because if you've got like 12 people who watch you and somebody like that checks you out, it's like now they're going to be super interested. But if it's like he checked out CNN, they're going to go, okay, nobody cares, because so do lots of people.
Well,
it goes and depends on that.
But yeah, I've like millions of people have seen my stuff, so
I mean, you look at like the New Zealand shooter. There's 100 million people who subscribe to PewDiePie, but it didn't stop the media from attacking PewDiePie for the New Zealand shooter mentioning him.
To be fair, though, PewDiePie has said plenty of dumb stuff over the years, so I feel like he kind of earned that one personally. But I mean, you got to look at the content and so forth, as opposed to, But I think in my last video, looking at the Toronto van attack, I was mentioning.
That's what I was gonna bring up, man. Those videos, holy fuck, man, holy fuck! That detective is just grilling the fuck out of him.
See, the thing is it's actually a really gentle interrogation, because essentially he's got him to the point, at this stage where, I mean, Manassian is basically just rolling over, like he's just talking. You can see video. I'm going to see if I can try to find a video where somebody is a little more sort of denying things and doesn't get to this point where the detective is just playing him, because that way you can see some of the tactics that they use when somebody starts saying, starts presenting a story that, doesn't convict them. Because
that guy he's autistic as well, right? So it's not like the detective's got a particularly hard job there.
Well, I mean, autistic doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make the detective's job easier, because I've seen some interviews with autistic people where the autistic person did fantastically. One of them, the guy just sat there and stared at the detective for the entire interview. And the guy's like, I need you to answer me. And he just stared.
Someone told him, don't talk to the cops, and he took that to heart.
Absolutely. I mean, and the thing is eventually the detective said, can you talk to me? And he answers that one question and says, I can. I just choose not to. And he keeps trying. And eventually they're like, well, what's it going to take for you to talk to me? And the guy says, I'm not going to talk to you, but I could really use, a drink or something along those lines. And the detective's just like, yeah, somebody will bring, there's water in your cell. We're done here. And it was just, absolute stonewall in a way that most people have a hard time doing. So that is fantastic. But, so it's not, I mean, there are, mental sort of different people have different resilience, different capacities, different whatever. But it's not just the autism, at play there. He's wanting to tell this story is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think I got to the part in your third video where he, when they start talking about the incel stuff, and this guy's just relishing the opportunity to
and the thing is,
take it to the Chads.
He wouldn't have, in my guess, and this is a guess about sort of alternate hypothetical universes, he probably wouldn't have started talking about this if the detective just said, so start telling me about all this. But once the detective sort of puts himself as this interested, curious, it's really, I really need to know about how your world, view is. And I'm not judging you. I'm not being critical. This is opening my eyes to what's going on in the world. Now he wants to talk, because now he thinks he's convincing somebody, and he's clearly not. He's not. It's not that he's helping his case at all. He's not, but he thinks he is. He very much seems to be that he thinks he's convincing somebody, and police know about this. It's not the first time that this has come up in an interview, because police will do this. At the beginning, he sort of has this apology to the families, and sometimes that's really on point, because if you're talking about somebody, the police are interviewing, say, somebody with a bunch of child porn, the detective might start going, and yeah, that kid was, really asking for it, weren't they? And that kid was coming on to you, and we all have urges and stuff like that, which of course the detective's got to be sitting there like just feeling, disgusted and wanting to rinse their mouth out with, rubbing alcohol. But they're saying this stuff so that the guy can then go and say, yeah, man, I mean, this kid was coming on to me, and then he thinks he's talking to somebody who thinks the same way he does, and meanwhile he's spilling everything. And typically the detective will offer this as like, if the kid was coming on to you, that's a different thing than if you went after the kid, like suggesting it's a defense. And so then now the guy thinks he's defending himself when he's convicting himself. Mm-hmm. And so that sort of thing happens all the time. Or
I want to watch an interview like that.
Yeah, I mean, some of those get really ugly in terms of where they go, and
your shit's not gonna get monetized anyways.
Well, it's not so much a would I be monetized on that one as, would YouTube just be like, and we're just gonna close your channel down entirely. Because some of the stuff they get into in some of those is just
Well, we could have you age restricted your stuff yet?
I don't think it's age restricted, but it's marked as not for kids.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I also understand that if you age restrict your channel, it basically they just don't recommend it at all anymore, and so your views go to nothing.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a couple of gaming videos that were like 3 years old get age restricted out of the blue a couple of weeks ago, and it was like something with like a title like "Fuck You, Archer," and that got age restricted. Like there's like 3 or 4 other videos like that.
They don't like swearing either in the title or in the first, I think it's 30 seconds. Or excessive swearing. And I don't know what excessive swearing means, but I try to limit how foul-mouthed I am in the
YouTube is being culturally insensitive to fucking goddamn Canadians who swear out their fucking ass all the time. This is cultural insensitivity.
Get the fuck off my ass, bro. Like, fuck.
Oh, I mean... The thing is, it's their platform. They've got the right to do what they want with it, but it means you got to play ball if you don't want to get... But, I mean, certain things they would shut down. And the other thing that becomes problematic with those videos is, let's say you get a copy of the interrogation video, and, it involves children. Well, there's going to be a publication ban with respect to anything that might identify who the child is. Mm. So now I've got to go through and redact the hell out of things. Because if I don't redact it properly, then they can hit me with, penalties for that. And as a lawyer, getting hit with penalties for that would be a big deal. So I don't want to mess with anything really involving kids, especially.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a different set of circumstances where the interview doesn't go so in favor of the police, and then you can see some of the things that happen.
It's hard to track some of these videos down. I'll probably have to see if I can get some from exhibits from the courthouse and so forth. Because that's how the press get them. I'll just have to figure out. It's never really been something I've had to do, so I'm going to, I guess, figure out how to start. But where I think that might make more sense is when you start looking at interviews for people who owe drug debts and, that kind of thing. Because you'll see the same thing where the police might say, listen, that guy who you beat the crap out of, we know he's a real bad dude. We don't like him. And so then they'll try to get the person agreeing that, yeah, he had it coming because he was this bad dude, and therefore it's okay that they beat the crap out of him. And it's a similar sort of tactic. It's a similar approach to it, but not in the context that will very much... I mean, you got people who've got trauma and so forth. They don't want to see that either, right? So the child context is just, it's a rough context. And especially, as an adult, it's a lot easier to deal with that sort of thing. I got to figure, if there's some kid out there who sees me making a YouTube video off of what happened to them, it's that's not where I don't think that's even who I want to be on that sort of sense. Because it's fair. kids
Yeah, no, that's fair.
sort of deserve a special level of protection in terms of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
So on a lighter note, Crover, what have you done since the last
I
thing?
saw a deer. I saw it. I did.
Did you bring it home with you, though? Did it
So-
follow you home?
It's cold outside. You have to bring them inside.
I
Yeah.
do. I do. Preferably in freezer bags and or coolers to keep the heat with them. Right. That's what the coolers are for, right?
That reminds
Keep
me,
the
I need
cool
to go
out.
to the butcher shop and try to scam some hides. But go on.
I'll give you my hide.
If you're local, sure.
I'll tell my mother to drive it up to Edmonton. How about that?
Sounds good.
But yeah, I did it. I took that first step. I went out in the bush and I tried to find Bambi. And I did. After my third try. And that's 2 other days we're hiking.
And did you got Bambi?
I didn't.
Oh,
I was close. I honestly, we didn't expect to see shit. We went every day expecting to see nothing. First 2 days, the fact is, the first day we did see something, but we spooked it with the car and it went into a bunch of trees, and then we spent an hour trying to flush it, and that went nowhere.
it's because you were trying to flush it and it was already in the next time zone.
Yes, probably. We are green. We are 100% green. The extent of our education is the hunter's course and meat eater. That's
Fair
it.
enough.
It's my friends and I that are trying to get into hunting. Look, I think I've made a pact with myself to try to basically every single shooting discipline out there. I am one of the only people that I know that actually likes trap shooting. That's my age group. I do. I really, really do like trap shooting. I wish I could go more, but I don't. Similarly, I like long distance shooting. I reload, which is something that a lot of people my age just don't bother with. Because it's like, why reload when I could buy 10D specials? And so hunting was the thing that I really wanted to do this season. The first time that we went out was opening day of the deer season here in Alberta for the WMUs that we were hitting, November 1st, because it was freaking 12 degrees, and why wouldn't I want to go hunting in a t-shirt? We did. But the thing was, we went about it kind of like a little bit hampered due to the fact that we hadn't done any scouting. We just knew the WMU that we wanted to go. So we went out early in the morning to try and find places to find deer around. The first place that we went to was a low spot in a valley, so it was completely marshy. So we spent about an hour walking around in a marsh, realizing we couldn't get to the other side of the marsh, giving up, getting back in the car, and by that time we'd missed the sunrise, basically, which is when the deer are active. The other time that the deer are active is at sundown. So we spent the rest of the day driving around, trying to find where the deer were. We spooked one in the car, like I said. We found a big clear cut, and we walked around, and then after walking around for about an hour and a half, we realized, oh, clear cuts that are still active are basically deserts for deer because they have nothing to eat there because the machinery has trampled everything down. So that was a big waste of time. And then we got tired on the first day at around 4. Sundown was 4:30. So we got back in the car, and obviously, since I just said that the other time that the deer are active is sundown, as we were driving out, we saw no less than 10 deer. But we're in the car. We can't shoot them from the car. We can't shoot them from the road. Sad face. Day 2 was the real piss off. I'm trying to frame this in as positive as light, and yet I still call day 2 a piss off because a friend of a buddy's mother said, "Oh, we have a spot down by Pincher Creek." Okay, it's about 2.5 hours south of Calgary. So I was like, it's a bit of a drive, but the spot that we were at on the first day was about 2.5 hours north of Calgary. So we figured, let's try it. They say they have a spot. They say that they get deer there every year. So I'm like, well, this just sounds great. Now done it. 2.5 hours after we drive there, we get there. But had about 10 minutes to sun up, so it's not great. We could have had another 20 minutes of actually hunting before the sun went up, because you are allowed to hunt half an hour before sunup. We get out of the cars and we start walking along a ridge, and we keep walking, and we keep walking, and we keep walking. So my buddy and I that went out on the first day are kind of looking at each other going, okay, we left our packs because we're expecting to sit down at a spot. We have camping chairs along with our rifles. So we turn to the people that said that this was a spot, and we go, so when are we getting to the spot? They go, oh, we just usually push bush until we find one. Okay. You're muted, Adriel.
Did you see any deer, though?
Fuck no. It was basically a repeat, but a worse repeat of the first day, because they decided to pull off. Again, we'd go to a spot, walk around for about an hour, see fuck all, get back in the cars, drive further than the forestry road until we would get to another spot, pull off, and walk around for an hour. But on the second or third pull off and walk around for an hour, it turned into a fucking mountain climb. We followed a quad trail, and we must have gained like 300 meters of elevation. It was fucking stupid. We got a nice picture of the area, though, so that was nice.
So in Alberta, you can't shoot from a forestry road?
You're not allowed to shoot from roads.
Because in Ontario, you can shoot from a forestry road because it's not a provincially maintained highway. The laws for hunting in Ontario stipulate that you can't shoot within 8 meters of a provincial highway, which is any road the province maintains.
Adriel?
I don't know. I hunt out in the fucking prairies, man. There's no roads where I hunt. If
you go and you shoot a deer from the road in Alberta, they might slap your pee-pee.
It's secondary, like it's up like a secondary or larger. So like some dirt trail somewhere like won't qualify. There is some line in the sand that they draw for what is considered a road that you have to be X meters from.
Yeah. Do you know what that line is?
No, I'd have to look it up in the regs, and I don't hunt.
Same thing. So just don't shoot from the road is kind of what we're always working with. So yeah, the second day was a complete and utter fucking write-off. We were absolutely bagged at the end of it because we did so much freaking hiking. And then came the third day, which was last Monday, actually. Yeah, Monday. This Monday. We got up really early. We got out there really early. And we decided to try a different method. We found the cut line. We followed the cut line. We sat at the cut line. And we sat there for an hour and a half not moving.
That's what I would do.
We saw a deer.
Yeah.
We saw a deer.
Look both ways. Yeah. Have one guy looking one way, one guy looking the other.
Precisely. That's exactly it. So what happened was I was sitting, and it'd been an hour and a half, so I was getting kind of tired. It was about an hour after sunup. It was around 9, because sunup was 8. And I was sending a snap. I was sending a Snapchat. And I look up, and about 100 yards away, I start to see a pair of antlers walking from behind a fallen tree. And I'm like, fuck. I put the phone down. I've had the rifle on my lap because, I don't know you, but I don't think I can hold a rifle at the ready position for an hour. I'm not that buff. Yeah. So I'm sitting there. I'm like, fuck. Put the phone down. Grab the rifle. At this point, Bambi has made it about 5 meters into the 50-meter wide cut line. And as soon as I start to bring up the rifle, looks at me, takes off running. It was a buck. It was a whitetail, because I saw its little butthole.
I mean, I'm not terribly successful as a hunter, but my approach is, if you're out in marsh, the thing I always think is, if I shot something here, how much fun would it be to drag this out of this marsh, up a hill and so forth. So a cut line is great because, hey, if you got to drag something up a cut line, that's much easier.
Yep.
But also just the last time I was out and I saw absolutely fuck all, but I just set up with a, thermal mat and burlap over top of me, and was just sitting behind my rifle scope for a long time over where, deer were likely to cross. It wasn't unpleasant, but I wouldn't have had that time to bring the rifle up. Of course, there was all sorts of deer sign there, but I'm pretty sure somebody else shot it before I got there. So, because I didn't see the deer at all.
Yeah, it was such a disappointment the second day, and it was also a disappointment for other people because we didn't hear a single fucking gunshot on the second day. On the third day, when I saw the deer, we had heard two or three gunshots minutes before I saw the deer. So they were around. And so after we got back, because I had to go to work in the afternoon, yes, I got up in the morning on Monday to go hunt, and then I went to work on Monday afternoon. It was kind of a shitty day, but whatever. I asked Adriel, so how would you do that differently? And Adriel, how would you do that differently?
Do what now? What are we talking about?
Cut line, hunting, snowy terrain, go.
Well, if it's snowy, the big cheat you can do there is you can put white coveralls or like white clothing on, and if there's like a decent snow drifting, it's nice and fresh, you're invisible. Like nothing can see you. It is the cheapest, best camo, especially for Alberta. If you're gonna hunt in Alberta in November, there's probably gonna be snow down. So all those fancy like super duper camo clothes and that kind of thing, white coveralls or white Tyvek's a little bit like crinkly though. It makes noise, so I don't really like that. But like a canvas or a cloth coveralls, nice big set. Cabela's has those too. They have like these like really thin pullovers. So you wear like your normal clothing that you need for like going out in whatever temperatures you're going out, and then you throw over like a white hoodie and these white pants, and you sit in a snowbank and you just disappear. Like sit on a chair or something like that. But it's very hard to see you.
I've got to ask Alex Manassian where he gets his white bunny suit. Seems like that'd be just the thing.
It would be. It would be. Damn.
Yeah.
What's the other method, Adriel?
I don't know. Just like move slower. You could just like very slowly move.
A blind.
Well, a pop-up blind. But if you're hiking really far in, it's kind of a pain in the ass.
No, this was a 500-meter hike in through an ATV trail.
Now, pop-up blinds, when I've used them, I've set them up for weeks at a time, and then I get my deer. I have heard that if you just throw a pop-up blind where like deer walk around, they'll notice it and they'll be like sketched out. They'll be like, "What is that? That was not there. I don't like that." So it might put them on edge if you just popped one up and sat in it.
Okay.
But what I haven't tried that, and deer are stupid, so like maybe it'll be fine. They're not like super smart. Like if you think about like what your grandparents hunted in, it would have been like red flannel. It would have been like bright ass, like terrible, like no camo. It would like the ear flap hats and a 30-30 that wouldn't be good for much more than 100 meters. And they got plenty of deer, so like they're not that smart. They're not invincible. Any centerfire cartridge will do the job. And it's more a matter of like smell, super important, and then movement, also super important. They can't see you
stop bathing in tar.
Baiting him and with a punji stick like trap or something like that. I like the swinging log trick. Those ones are I think are the way to go. They're like really silent, and then the spiked log just smokes them in the side.
Saying like the smell of tar is probably not a good one to go with.
Yeah, you might stay away from it. You'd have to put like a lot of apples on that.
Yeah, no, I had the wind towards me, so he wasn't gonna smell me. But as soon as I started bringing up that rifle, I thought it was moving slowly. It was like, oh fuck, and he's like, oh fuck, what is that? Takes off. And it's like,
yeah. The ones that have been around a while have learned that when you see something moving in hunting season, it's time to go.
Were you silhouetted? Like I imagine where I look on a cut line is. I try to. You always want to find a rise because you get the best visibility, but you don't want to be silhouetted against the sky. So usually, if I'm hunting with 2 people, I go to the rise, and then we both move down a little bit so that we're both looking our both ways. We're not silhouetted against the sky. And then ideally, you don't want to be in the middle of the cut line either. You want to be a little bit in the brush.
So we were right at the edge of the cut line, under a tree.
Yeah. You use the terrain that in the best way that you can, and you don't always get like the best coverage. Because like coverage works both ways, right? If there's stuff in that's obscuring you, you can't see through it as easily, right? So
yeah, I guess now that I think about it, when you mention it like that, that fallen tree did obscure a portion of the cut line because the deer was able to walk behind it for a while into the cut line before I could see it.
See, part of me wonders then if you've seen the deer there, you got the rifle in your lap, if it wouldn't have just been better to try and rush the gun up to your shoulder as fast as possible. If it's
I know, I would not be comfortable doing a snapshot.
I wouldn't. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do a snapshot.
Do slow. I've done slow, like you're mentioning like texting there way back in the day when like BlackBerry was still a thing. I was in a deer stand and I like rattled and I got an email from work. I'm like typing on my BlackBerry. And I look up, and there's a deer like 20 meters, and looking at me, fucking around with my BlackBerry. I'm like, oh, okay. So I put the BlackBerry down, grab the gun. I'm like, I'm gonna shoot you right there, and I shot him, and he didn't move the whole time. So it depends on the deer. You know, I got a dumb deer that year, but it depends.
Damn it. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. I had a smart one. I had a smart deer.
Mine was looking at me the whole time. He's like, "What are you doing? What are you doing up there?" I'm gonna shoot you.
Like, do I want this? Is this a good thing? What's happening?
It was like I was rattling weight. It was like November 1st. It was super early in the season. Like they're not supposed to respond to it. I was just doing it to like dick around. Maybe something will happen. And that was the year I hunted for like 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes.
Fuck, I'm on day 3, possibly day 4, depending on whether or not I can get away this Saturday.
I've gone like 5 days before getting my deer in a place I know with like good setup and whatnot. It's challenging.
Yeah,
the next 2 days. I'm going to try. I got to pick up something tomorrow, and the day after I'm going to try to get out. Which Friday, hopefully, other people are at work, so maybe I'll be a little luckier there.
Yeah.
But friend has property where they think it's in a no discharge area, but far enough away. I'm hoping that it'll be legal. I've got to sort of go and scout it out. But it's no discharge of firearms specifically. Crossbows are not part of it. And so I'm hoping I got to go and I'm going to pick up a crossbow. I'm going to check out the distances to neighbors and see if it's, if there's a place where it can be discharged legally. And
I remember hearing crossbows in Alberta were fucking just useless, basically.
Well, you can use them in rifle season, and we're in rifle season right now. So for an area where there's no firearms discharge, that would be the ticket, because a lot of the counties that do firearms discharge laws, it's more about the noise or the danger because it's too heavily populated. But a bow should be fine.
Yep.
Like that's all county specific though. Like city of Edmonton, like discharging a bow in town is not specifically illegal unless it's mentioned by the municipality. So like Edmonton, you can't do a bow in your backyard, but some small towns forgot about that. And you can.
What's funny is Toronto's discharge bylaws banned pellet guns, but they didn't ban bows. So you could actually theoretically, and there have been people who've been like yelled at for I think going to High Park and just doing archery in High Park.
Well, I mean, depending on the WMU that you're in as well, you might be able to do like small game.
I know. I've actually been like debating. I'm like, okay, so can I go and grab a crossbow and go camp out down by the Humber River for fucking deer?
Edmonton is in a WMU, and there are like tags you can get for this area.
Yeah, Toronto's the trick is like as well.
The discharge, right? Finding a spot where you can discharge something and get it done.
Huh.
Yeah,
I mean, back when deer hunting was allowed, that would have been the thing, right? To go
to the park and get a deer.
If it was actually legal, I would be, out with a pellet gun getting rabbits.
Yeah.
because there's all sorts of rabbits in Edmonton, but there's not really a way to get them legally, so you just don't. But
there is a family of rabbits that lives under the trees in front of my place, and I've always just kind of gone, "You look fat and ready for a stew."
Hey, you know,
I mean-
I could just get them with this.
I mean, they're plenty dumb, right? It's just like if I had something where I could get the rabbits, you know.
Oh, I almost said slingshots, but I'm pretty sure slingshots also aren't allowed.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I never do any of this kind of stuff in the city, so I don't.
I know pellet guns aren't. Oh, I should tell you this. I know pellet guns aren't allowed to be discharged in the city of Calgary because I went to a field with a friend of mine to shoot my pellet gun, and some asshole called the cops. So it's like two dumb kids shooting cans, and it's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And it's like, "Shooting cans." And it's like, "That's dangerous." It's like, "I'm shooting into a hill." That's dangerous. It's, fuck off. I'm calling the cops, and like she brought the fucking phone over to us, and like, "Hi, yeah, this is the cops." Okay. Are you shooting a pellet gun? Yeah. Don't. Okay. Here you go. Fuck you. And we left.
Are you really gonna come out here for this?
I had my buddy.
That's basically what the cops said. It's like, are you shooting pellet guns? Yeah. You're not allowed. Okay.
I had my buddy get the cops called on him for shooting his paintball gun in his backyard because his neighbor's an asshole.
Yeah.
Technically, it's an air gun, and so the police were like, "You can't be shooting the paintball gun in the city of Toronto in your backyard."
Yeah,
What a
there's
dick.
lots of that, unfortunately.
Thankfully, my neighbors were not assholes.
Yeah. So instead, my friends actually just throwing knives at the board that's nailed to the tree in their backyard and tomahawks, and they lost one of those throwing knives. We don't know where it went. It's been missing for like 6 years. Like it must be like in
some raccoon's ass.
Yeah, probably. Is there anything of note that we should mention about news?
Someone
there's some
asked
Black
about
Friday
Black
deals.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody asked about Black Friday. I don't support them, but you know, always look at tendies. Tendies sometimes have good numbers. Oh, actually, Cabela's has really good prices on 9mm. I think it's like smack
Yeah, if you can
25.
Find it.
Yeah, 25 cents for Remington UMC 9mm 124 grain.
Sacco ammunition is doing $20 off per box of ammunition, and they sell boxes of 10. So
They also sell boxes of 10 for like $60 fucking dollars.
You don't have to get those ones, but like you get $20 off per box, and most of their hunting ammo is pretty reasonably priced, like 30, 35 bucks kind of a thing. So you could get some really cheap hunting ammo if you can find it in stock. I was looking last night. The guys on Discord told me about it, and I had some 6.5 Creedmoor in my shopping cart waiting for 12 o'clock because it was November 18th is when it activated, and they kept buying it up from underneath me. So the guys on the Discord would be like, "I just got some 6.5 Creedmoor from this place." I'm like, "Oh, you asshole! You bought my ammo!" And I have to go find some other place that had it, and by the time I got around to it, it was.
From what I recall, too, on that, they give you an option to either get the rebate back yourself or donate that money to the CSSA.
Correct. Yeah, they're giving the option.
We already gave him enough free promo. I'm keeping my money.
I need to find a good source for 6.5 by 284.
Okay, let me save you the trouble. You're not.
Yeah. Or I need to get my insurance company to actually answer the question about because apparently they have rules on reloading, but they won't actually tell me what they are. And I'm just like, I need to know, guys.
helpful.
Come on.
So is that just for like your home insurance?
Yeah.
Well, like as long as you don't have enough powder to legally require a magazine, what the hell do they care?
They might care because of, it's insurance, so they can set all sorts of stupid rules on that. And
Don't make me want to check my fucking insurance because I don't have a magazine, but I have a cabinet right here to my left of me with probably like 30 pounds of powder.
yeah, I mean, don't smoke next to it, but
I don't smoke. It is next to the furnace, though.
I kind of feel like this could end badly.
Whatever. But just hey, from the PAL course, modern smokeless powder is flammable, not explosive.
That is correct. But
It's 30 pounds of powder next to the furnace.
From my PAL course, I remember a story about a farmer blowing his house up because he left powder too close to a furnace.
Yeah, it's behind.
Granted, that was black powder because he was apparently trying to blow up a stump and left a black powder bomb next to his furnace, but...
That's no bueno. That's no bueno. All right. Is there anything we should mention?
I mean, I haven't really been looking too much at Black Friday sales because I can't really...
I'm trying to think of news. Alberta had a firearms committee public survey. Did you guys fill it out?
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not from Alberta.
You could have still filled it out.
I didn't because I'm not from Alberta, so...
No, I'm sure that survey magically prevents people from doing that.
Yeah. I read through it. I went through it. It's like, does this financially affect you? Fuck yeah. Would you do things differently? Duh. What would happen if there was a provincial police force and the CFO is appointed by the province?
Nothing would be different at all.
Well,
that really do anything.
Enforcement
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Because if you look at like the city of Vancouver is talking about decriminalizing drugs. They're just not going to charge people about it. Now, if you think about that, is that a change from what they're doing right now? Not really. If a cop sees like an addict doing meth on the side of the road, are they going to go take all their drugs? Probably not. Not at this point. They're going to do other. They got other like bigger fish to fry. So if Alberta had its own police force and could tell them what to do, they could tell them, all those laws that the feds want us to just don't.
Yeah, and then the feds could go, hey, Alberta, you're not enforcing this, so we're going to cut all of your federal funding on everything that we give you ever.
I mean, the direction of money right now is, even now, when Alberta's economy is garbage, is still always just going to be that way, so I don't know.
There is still federal funding that gets sent to be allocated to specific things, so the federal government will just be like, no, we're not going to give you anything on this if you're...
I mean, unless Trudeau wants to do train ride, finger ride, electric boogaloo 2 like his dad did, I don't see them trying to further alienate... Actually, I shouldn't say that, because Trudeau did say that all the issues that Alberta is facing are not being helped by their attitude. So that was not very nice.
He tried blaming premiers for gun crime in the provinces by premiers not just rolling over and accepting his unconstitutional plan to bypass their rights on municipalities. But yeah, realistically, if it comes to gun control, that's one of Trudeau's pet issues, and that's one where it's like, decriminalizing drugs at the municipal level, he doesn't give a shit about that. But if it's a province or a municipality that tried to become a sanctuary province for gun owners, you bet your ass he would be all over that shit and being like, no, you're not doing this. We're not letting you do this. We're going to have federal courts fucking order you to have to enforce the laws and shit like that. He will not just let that one slide.
I mean, what else can he do at this point? He's lost every single Liberal seat west of fucking Manitoba. There's literally nothing.
And west of Manitoba and east of Vancouver.
Yeah, he gets some in Vancouver.
Yeah, but it's like there is nothing. It's like the stake has been driven between the west and the east, and if he just wants to not just take a stake to it, but a fucking axe to it, and cutting. I
think one of the main differences with a provincially appointed CFO would be you could have them stop doing that bullshit of asking for a range membership. For one, if the provincial government tells them to stop doing that, then they will stop doing that. Probably more accessible wilderness ATC is another potential thing.
That'd be
and the third thing
cool.
is they wouldn't be going to ATRS and harassing them for telling the RCMP to shove the FRT up their ass.
Other things they could potentially do, right now ranges are getting a lot of pressure to implement really stupid things that prevent you from doing sort of move and shoot style events. So if you look at Ontario, they've got like baffle shit.
Well, you want to talk about bad
but they want to push that out here too.
the action sports in Quebec are even worse because they can only do horizontal movement. There's no downrange movement in action shooting in Quebec, unless you shoot at Valcartier, the military base, where they say we don't care about that.
Yeah, the military tells the RCMP to fuck
But I
themselves.
mean, that's all CFO rules, right? And so the CFO could, a provincial CFO who is friendly could say, hey, listen, we're going to be a lot more okay with building, action-oriented ranges and that sort of thing. Now, of course, you'd want to be within the bounds of safety, because the last thing that you'd want is, hey, we appointed our new CFO, they implemented all these rules, and now there were 7 accidental shootings. That would not go over well. That wouldn't be a strong... but at the end of the day, that's... And theoretically, they could also push to start giving some actual authorizations to carry for self-defense. Now, I don't know if they want to push it that far, but it's something they could do.
Yeah,
that'd be nice.
See, because Ontario is so fucked, a lot of people assume that our CFO is appointed by the federal government, but it's not. Ontario appoints our own CFO, and we were one of the original provinces to push for the ability to do that. The thing is, Ontario just makes the CFO a police officer. They're a member of the OPP, and they're actually based out of OPP headquarters. And so you end up with just a bureaucratic police officer as CFO rather than someone who's, friendly towards gun owners.
Yeah.
And I mean, it would be nice if the other thing that a CFO could do is that there are various meetings between the CFOs, interprovincially and so forth, where they try to coordinate their actions. And so first being able to be in that meeting and being like, so, I know you guys really want to shut down, automatic ATTs and so forth or whatever. We're not going to do that. We're going to put gunsmiths on. We're going to because that was one of the things that happened with the Bolovsky decision, is that he got gunsmiths added to his ATT. And part of the reason for that was they said, well, in other provinces they do it and it hasn't caused any problems. So their solution to that was other provinces, you got to stop putting gunsmiths on the ATTs. But, so having people in the room who can say, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to adopt this stupid policy and push back would be tremendously helpful.
I know Saskatchewan appointed their own, and he was a member of some Saskatchewan hunting organization and a longtime target shooter. And so it was someone who was going to be more likely sympathetic towards and knowledgeable about the gun owners in the province rather than just, an RCMP officer of some kind.
Yeah, and I mean, some of the stuff the CFO does, you're still going to want to, happen. There are people who really ought to lose their firearms because sometimes there are people who are doing crazy things. Hey, you've had a complete psychotic break and you can no longer tell, what's going on. Maybe you shouldn't have your guns. Maybe steps should be taken there. But similarly, they could be a little bit more lax in terms of people who maybe aren't such a strong case. So it depends. I mean, there's a fair bit they can do, but there's a lot of things that people want them to do that they just can't. When they say, oh, we want them to make the AR-15 legal.
No, they can't do it.
The only strategies I could see for them doing that would be really legally questionable. And, the federal government would push back. They'd be, challenging them. They'd be asking for, essentially asking the courts to demand the CFO follow the law. And so there'd be big court battles. I don't know if a provincial CFO would be also given a giant budget to fight the federal government. And without that, they might have a bit of a tough time. So it's hard to say, but there is a bunch of stuff that they could do that's not a stretch at all.
That's promising.
For other legal news shit, as I mentioned, the Alberta CFO showed up to harass ATRS, and ATRS was kind of saying, the CFO came by and is basically trying to enforce the FRT as law, despite the fact that, the FRT is very explicitly stated to not be law. The Alberta CFO is apparently coming by and saying, well, the RCMP says in the FRT that your shit's illegal and you need to stop selling it. And they basically just went, we're talking to our legal counsel and they advise us not to say too much after this, which is what the lawyers generally say, to my understanding of lawyer advice.
Shut your noise hole is probably the most commonly repeated bit of legal advice.
So they're doing that. The second attempt to find a tender for confiscation ended. Supposedly there was no company that bid. However, I've heard some people say that they've hired a project manager for the confiscation thing, and that there actually was one bid that I don't know why it didn't show up on the thing, but there may or may not have been no bids again, showcasing
That's because
how
the company that got it, starts with an S and then ends in S and C level. And no, I'm sorry.
I don't think even
no. It'll be some new company that's just totally not a division of we yeah.
But so it may, or according to the buy and sell website, it ended with no bids. According to one thing I saw somewhere on the Discord, someone said no. They actually, I think the Gun Blog supposedly found out that there was a bid that the government's looking at, and that they hired a project manager to oversee this whole shit. So, I mean, the project manager was posted a while ago, and that's kind of unsurprising. Like people just kind of forgot about it, but
and it might have been that having gotten no bids with two separate tenders, they're now going to do it as a no bid contract and just give it to somebody who might just happen to be Trudeau's third cousin once removed, and no connection.
Some people were speculating that was the plan all along.
Well, Scheer's freaking, what was it? Scheer's sister got fired. Even though there was no conflict of interest, so he just fired her anyways.
Yeah, it's all about optics. He got that all cleared beforehand. People were like, "Okay,
it's not." It's like, the media found out about you. Fuck you, bitch.
And then the injunction is going against the ban is going to be heard in January. So I'm kind of saving my pennies for the hopeful success of that, because I know that initially some of the lawyers were not too optimistic about the injunction having success, but I think with the RCMP just continually and arbitrarily adding to the list of banned shit, I think that might have been a stronger case to be made.
Was the 8-year request time for the documents that happens?
That was the other one too. There was the 7 or 8 years to respond. And in my completely unprofessional opinion, I think the RCMP just arbitrarily adding shit to the banned list kind of adds some sort of credence to, we need this to be sorted first before it can really be enforced, with the RCMP just dicking around over here, given that part of the court case deals with, can you define a variant so the RCMP stops fucking around? But I'm kind of saving money for the hope that the injunction passes so I can go buy myself an M14 and a VZ58.
Well, I suspect that what the injunction might end up being is just, listen, the amnesty is going to be extended indefinitely until till the end of it, but I don't know. We'll have to see.
So you don't think they're going to say pause on this shit until you sort it out? They're going to say like, no, this is just going to go on for as long as it goes on?
Yeah, it might be that they say, listen, we're going to require the amnesty to continue even past this time until the court is sorted out. But they could say, hey, you know what, we're going to suspend the whole OIC, which would be wonderful, because the day they suspend the OIC is going to be the busiest range day that you've ever seen.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's like I've got some ammo burning a fucking hole in my pocket.
I got to take all my stuff and put it back on my ARs.
Yeah,
there's going to be a line all the way up that giant hill of people's emergency brakes failing from having waited for waiting for everyone else to run out of ammunition so that they can get a chance to go on and shoot their ARs.
Yeah.
What a day!
There'll be a run at stores too on suddenly all the 223 ammo will be out of stock.
Oh, that's so sad. Have you noticed that? Like they just stop bringing it in. It's like, oh yeah, no ARs. Nobody's eating this shit.
Well, yeah, I had a bunch of brass I was trying to get rid of before I moved because I kept 223 brass because I was going to reload and then got too lazy. I tried putting up on CGN asking for a case of beer and no one took it, so I just gave it away.
Damn.
Wow.
I mean, I'm sitting on like 3,000 pieces of brass and like 1,000 projectiles. I have 50 prime cases ready for load development for a gun that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I'm almost out of ammo for 223. I've got a bolt action in it, so I can still shoot it, but I think I've only got like 200 rounds left, and it's because, like, well, I'd buy more, but I can't shoot my AR, so bye.
Yep.
I got to get out to the range and take the Tavor out.
Oh, look
That's
at you
I debated
flexing
not-
on us poors with a Tavor.
Oh, I went and bought one. I was like, I contacted a gun store and I was like, I would like for one of these to be ordered, please. And they're like, that's real hard. I'm like, please try. And they're like, okay, we'll see what we can do. And then I got a thing saying, we asked for one and they actually sent us one. So, can you be here today? Because if we put this on the shelf, it's not going to be here tomorrow. And I was like, I am on my way. Like,
But did you go full Hebrew and get the Mi Pro light sight?
I did not. I just got the X95, so I can use my 223. I can.
Yeah.
Those
are good guns.
97 because I'm poor.
But Adriel, it doesn't matter that it sucks. It's kosher.
Very, very.
That's right. Do we want to keep memeing it up, or do we have anything else left?
Yeah, we're at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, okay. Go subscribe to the Hunting Gear Guy. Go subscribe to Runkle of the Bailey. Support the CCFR. Maple Seed is the tits.
I still need to sign up for one of those.
Oh, fuck, do it. Adriel and I will fucking do it with you. I mean, actually, Adriel will teach it. I will be there shadowing so that I can teach it.
I have to buy a 22 to do that with.
Fuck it, run it with your...
Use your SKS or your Mosin.
Yeah, use your SKS. We've had a couple of people on the line already.
With irons or with...
Whatever you want.
The optimal rifle to use is a scoped 22, a 10-22.
With detachable mags, although there's a guy that got an amazing score with a bolt action single shot.
Like specifically, you want to be able to get your support hand like underneath the rifle at the balance point. So a 10-22 is really good for that because you get the flush fit mags and you can put your hand right there. Scope on top. Now I say all this, but like people have patched with like shot a qualifying score with bolt actions, with iron sights, with bolt action iron sights. It's just more challenging. And I think that for your first kick at it, a scoped semi is the way to go because you don't have to worry as much about the gun or the speed to keep up, and you can think more about the technique and how to apply it and that kind of thing. Because it is a busy day. It's like drinking from a fire hose. Yeah.
Like I said, I would use my Remington, but the problem is I don't have any way to mount sling on it, and I don't feel like drilling into the plastic to put a way to mount slings.
We have
zip
ways
ties.
of mounting
zip
stuff.
ties.
Yeah, we just use zip ties. we just zip ties a sling on there, and we put slings on any rifle that shows up.
Oh, keeping zero on that would be entertaining.
Yeah.
All right, if I get my firearms business license, and if I can get a at some point, if I do get that, I'm going to look for somebody who's got like farmland that they're willing to just give me sort of a small corner to lease to build a like a 30-foot range. Something that's just like, here's a berm. It's but this is not like this is a testing range. It's not a whatever. But I will totally test let's try out attaching a scope with zip ties and see how it does in terms of like that will be a video of just...
You're already basically describing every product made by UTG, so
have you ever seen the picture of the PPSH they found in like Afghanistan where someone had zip tied when they got it, they zip tied an EOTech and a foregrip into the grill of the PPSH.
That
the
thing
one I love is there's a gunsmith who's got this gun. He's sort of sitting there, and initially it doesn't look too awful until you see he opens up the bolt and the scope tilts over and slides back because he mounted the scope to the bolt somehow.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
I remember that. Okay, enough memeing. Shut it down, Adriel. We'll be back in like a month, maybe. Fuck you guys. Bye.